everyone. Welcome back to Real Life. I hope you're having a wonderful day. If you enjoy these vintage episodes, please hit the like button. That helps promote them to like-minded viewers like yourself. Consider subscribing and you'll be notified of new episodes. There's something new and different every weekend. Today's episode is a 1958 road trip to British Columbia from Calgary, captured by Reg Hilson. The Banff Park Gate and its photogenic gatehouses are a familiar sight and remain unchanged to this day. Castle Mountain, also known briefly as Mount Eisenhower, is about halfway between Banff and Lake Louise. Before the completion of the Trans-Canada Highway over the Rogers Pass in 1962, travelers had a long journey, either driving the gravel Big Bend Highway between Golden and Revelstoke or traveling through the Kootenays. This is the trip we're taking today through the Kootenays along the Banff-Windermere Highway, first built in 1922. The corridor along the Kootenay and Vermilion rivers had been used as a First Nations travel route for thousands of years. In 1858, Sir James Hector traveled through Vermilion Pass and recommended that it would be the best route for a wagon road. After years of lobbying, construction began in 1911, and by 1914, the road was opened between Calgary and Vermilion Pass, as well as a 19-kilometer western section. The outbreak of World War I resulted in suspension of construction, and following the conclusion of the war, the British Columbia provincial government did not have enough funds to complete the project. The Banff-Windermere Road Agreement was reached whereby the federal government would complete the remaining 85 kilometers of road, and in exchange they would receive an 8-kilometer buffer of land on each side of the highway for conservation purposes, approximately 1,600 square kilometers in total. This resulted in the creation of Kootenay National Park. The road opened in 1922 and was the first highway to cross the central Canadian Rockies. With stunning scenery along the 105-kilometer highway, its climax is Radium Hot Springs and Sinclair Canyon, a natural sheer cut created by Sinclair Creek with a narrow bridge for traffic departing to the Columbia Valley. The Columbia Valley runs north-south with fertile farms and a few natural hot springs itself. Kootenay Lake has long been serviced by sternwheelers and ferries. In 1931, the BC government chartered the SS Nasukan for the main lake crossing between Fraser's Landing and Grey Creek. The government acquired the vessel in 1933, modifying the upper decks for the route. In 1947, the terminals were relocated to Balfour and Kootenay Bay. Launched in 1946, the 40-vehicle, 150-passenger capacity MV Anscombe served the route until 2000. The 28-vehicle, 150-passenger capacity MV Balfour was launched in 1954. I'm uncertain which ferry this is, but the curved loading ramp at Balfour should be familiar to anyone who's ever crossed the lake. In the 1950s, many of the highways in British Columbia's interior were not yet paved, but rather dusty and much slower gravel roads. These family vacation road trips were adventures in of themselves, guided by well-used fold-out highway maps and friendly folks at gas stations and country stores. If we were lucky, you might catch a faint AM radio station, but often you simply enjoyed the scenery and wildlife. Most campgrounds were primitive, offering not much more than a picnic table and a campfire site, with the wonderful smell of pine and spruce trees, canvas wall tents, and campfire smoke. They became core memories for many of us growing up. It was not uncommon to be camping almost alone in peaceful solitude. We arrive at Osoyoos at the lookout. In 1958, the town was still years away from being a tourist mecca. If you want to see more of Osoyoos in the early 1960s, check out episodes 371, 1101, 1105 for amazing footage. And on we go to Penticton, with a view of Skaha Lake, the canal, and the runway of Penticton Airport on a warm summer day. The Okanagan Valley in summer is a wonderful place to be when you're young, with plenty of campsites, nearly endless beaches, bright sunshine, and warm water. It was common to meet other kids from the lower mainland or perhaps from the prairies and quickly become friends as they played in the sand. Out in the middle of the lake, a CNR tugboat is towing a barge, likely loaded with boxcars of fruit, on its way to Kelowna. Permanently beached on the western end of Okanagan Beach is the grand old dame of Okanagan Lake, the SS Sicamous. The 225-foot-long sternwheeler was launched in 1914 and operated until 1937 and is part of a heritage park cared for by the SS Sicamous Marine Heritage Society in Penticton. The Sicamous traveled from Penticton to Okanagan Landing daily, except Sundays, with 14 scheduled stops along the way. Her luxury and beauty attracted crowds at each dock, while travelers experienced elegance in dining and service renowned by Canadian Pacific. It was used as a museum from 1951 to 1965, and subsequently as a restaurant until 1988, when it was restored and began its life in its current role as a historic site. The view from the top deck and pilot house affords a splendid look at the beach and the many motels and restaurants along Lakeshore Avenue. The Sicamous and the beach both are featured in the 1985 movie My American Cousin. These days, the vessel is a stellar museum worth visiting. From the Okanagan, we jump over to Vancouver and travel across one of the bridges over the Fraser. It's interesting to see how few cars are crossing, a far cry from today's crowded roads. We end this reel with a visit to Stanley Park, a look at the Lions Gate Bridge, boat traffic at First Narrows, and a visit to the zoo with its primates and penguins. Thank you to David Hilson for making this episode possible. Thanks for watching. Have a great day. Be kind, and we'll see you next time on Real Life.